Dinesh go ahead and start sharing screens just for time's sake. And we'll jump right into his, guys. And I want to make sure we're conscious of time. So especially when we do the actual draw for the gift cards, because I know some people may need to leave for other appointments. So if our content starts to go on a little bit longer, we'll stop, do those drawings, and then we'll get back into whatever we can, especially on the question and answer. Go ahead, Dinesh.
Thank you. Are you able to see a screen?
I can see you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Keith, for that demo. So, Keith's talked to you about the process of how you build out a data snapshot using a combination of data migrator and web focus. What I'm going to talk to you about is a little bit about the process itself when you're strategizing for a data snapshot implementation. So if you've thought through the trends in data that you're not currently capturing and KPIs that might be important to you that get lost in transit, and you come up with data snapshot as a possible solution for that. What happens when you're going through this process? So I'll talk about a little bit about the what, the why, and how you do it. And a lot of this will revolve around our experiences with customers when we've implemented these kinds of solutions for them. And just to give you a fair warning, this is probably going to be a little bit of a reality check in terms of what it's not as well. There have been some unrealistic expectations with our customers. And I've kind of taken a summary of those symptoms and I want to present them to you. So if you are, if you have those conversations, so you'll know what you'll get and what you won't get as well. A little bit about the what. So Snapshot is a read-only copy of the data. And a lot of this is accomplished through what you call is a pointer file, what you call as a sparse file. There's several terms for it: sparse file, side files, and there are other terms for it as well. But essentially, that sparse file or a side file is your change data capture mechanism or your metadata mechanism. So whatever data changes in your databases, the changes are being captured through that sparse file. So I'm also going to use the term data pages. What I mean by that is just tables and relationships between tables, lookup tables, and things like that. So the changes in this source, since the snapshot was created, is what is contained in your data snapshot. This is not a full copy of the database, and that's why your database backup strategy has to be exclusive from your snapshot strategy. I'll talk about that a little bit more as well. As far as the why is concerned, I think Keith has showed you some examples on some business use cases involving data science, machine learning, data in transit, whatnot. But there could be very simple use cases that involve compliance, audits, and reporting. And it's really a supplement to how you do your database backups. The most sophisticated use cases are the periods of change analysis. So, day-to-day transactions that get snapshotted, but you're not really capturing them in an application, or you're not really looking at them from one period of time to another period of time. And just by you snapshotting this information, it enables timely responses. And some of this could be manual, and some of this could be automated. But if you need it to be automated, business logic needs to be implemented around that. And I'll give you an example on how we did that for one customer of ours by incorporating some business logic. But it follows a BI application design type framework. All of it remains the same, but the information comes from a data snapshot as opposed to a traditional database. And these are directly dependent on the source databases involved. So the truth lies in your source databases. And that's why your snapshots can never replace your backup or your restore strategy. So if an entire database is lost, the source files become inconsistent. And your snapshots are only as reliable as your source files. So the importance of maintaining the integrity of your snapshot of your source databases are critical through your database backup strategy. Now let's talk about the process of creating that snapshot. When you're first entering into this, the size starts with almost 0, and all of the growth happens through the transaction rates that occur on the source database. If you have a constantly changing database, then your snapshot size increases through those sparse files that I initially talked about. but there's no space that's explicitly reserved for the snapshot. And that's one of the things that you will need to keep in mind, because through empirical practice and through how your business evolves through the transactions, that is what will tell you how much memory allocation or space allocation is necessary in time. There is no one answer for everybody. And you also need a little bit of a strategy around low disk space alerts. What we found with our customers is that they have had several low disk space alerts. Then they've had a memory allocation type response that helped them settle in that process. If you have an offline or corrupted database, so again, this is not something that will save you if you don't have a database backup strategy. There's no mechanism by which you can revert the data, because again, like I previously mentioned, the data snapshot primarily refers to refers to your original files in the database. And like I mentioned before, the space allocations are only for the modified portion of the data. Only the changes grow in size. The initial references do not grow in size at all. Okay, now when you're in the process of strategy, what do you have to remember? Keith showed a little demo where he used a graphical interface almost exclusively to build out your flows, to get the APIs invoked, and to even build a quick application that showed you your the reports and charts, things like that. But usual relational database strategies do not have a graphical interface for snapshot creations. They are done through T-SQL commands, SQL scripts, and so on. So what Keith showed you is an exception, not the norm. And another thing is that there is no backup mechanism for sparse files. When I'm saying this, I feel like I'm a doomsday sayer, but that's the truth. You need to know that your sparse files cannot be backed up. If you lose your sparse files, then you have to create one from scratch. There's just no way around it. Secondly, the data snapshots usually show relatively minor continuous changes. So if you are in the process of snapshotting and you've done this for 2 to 3 months, and you come back and say, I've done this and I don't see many changes at all, it's because the snapshots access the original databases. So you're not expected to see a whole lot of changes. And in the next slide, I'll kind of show you how a read mechanism looks like, a read operation looks like. And that will kind of tell you that if you don't have a lot of moving parts in the data that you are snapshotting, then you're probably not going to see a whole lot of changes in your data snapshot itself. So don't be surprised. Is kind of the message here. A quick explanation of a database where the first in about 10 pages 3, 6, 7 here are the only ones that have undergone changes in a period of, let's say, 2 months. So the pages 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10 are always read from the source database, which means that there is no space allocation, no space usage, and so on. And the pages 3 and 6 and 7 are read from the sparse file. So they kind of come together, and what you see is that complete complete snapshot when you're doing a read mechanism. So that's kind of the setup here. The more the number of pages that change, the more your sparse files changes, which means the overall snapshot increases in size. That's where your snapshot frequency, your snapshot memory allocation, all of that comes into play. Now to the most important part, which is the application construction. So now you have snapshots from a few different weeks. You've kind of decided on your frequency. Now you want to know what you can do with the data. The first step would be to understand the data in transit, or to apply your business kind of logic that tells you what needs to be snapshotted and what your current canned applications. You probably have canned applications, dashboard type applications, visual applications, or even self-service type applications. And there are things that get lost in data in transit, right? So that are not captured effectively. That movement in data is not effectively captured. So as a first step, if you're an organization that's embarking on this process, the first step that I would do is to get a hold of the use cases that you will need, that is lost in transit, really. And once you've done that, now you can go ask yourself, like Keith showed in his demo, he defined a 15-minute mechanism. So for that particular stock use case, that 15-minute mechanism was appropriate. But for your business, you'll have other things that, a day might be enough. In some cases, you'll need absolute real time. So you'll need to decide that snapshot frequency. And in that snapshot frequency, the good thing here is that you can define your components that you really want. So it could be as small as one table that you're snapshotting. So, and once your snapshot frequency is defined, the data in transit can be captured effectively. And from that point on, this is like designing any other BI application. You're creating a metadata. You're creating a metadata in a way that you can use that for this application and for any other application that uses these technologies. So use it once and not have to use it again, not have to keep changing it again. And so again, now that is done. If you have streaming data needs, so there are situations where your snapshot might not need to include streaming data, or might come from third-party sources, or might come from data sources inside your organization that you've made a conscious choice of not including in your snapshot strategy. So all of these can be brought into that metadata structure and can be used in your application design process. These are rare, but definitely possible. And then finally, to incorporate that business logic to facilitate event-based conditions. So again, when you're designing an application, we have this experience with all our customers is, so for the quickly changing data, for data that does not need you as a user to log in and to go look at a problem, and you can have event-based alarms, condition-based triggers, things like that. And so we've and you can have that application do that for you as opposed to waiting for you to log in. And this is one application that comes from a data snapshot, a social media social media impressions dashboard, as our customers called it. So if in this situation, the customers needed to make some quick decisions based on the number of clicks, the number of likes, whether to boost the particular post in question, or to remove the particular post in question. So for all of these widgets that you see upstairs, you can make an event-based decision. If the reactions does not exceed 500 in a 15-minute time frame, then shoot me an email. I want to take a look at it, and I want to make a decision of whether to take this post down or to use a boost mechanism. And this entire thing comes from a data snapshot. It actually makes sense if you think about it, that it comes from a data snapshot as opposed to a data model, traditional RDBMS type structure. So I'm sure there are many other use cases in your organization that could use an integrated snapshot mechanism that feeds your business applications, the BI applications. So if there's anything that we can help with, glad to be part of the conversation. Back to you, Tim.
And again, appreciate everybody coming. I know there's a couple of questions. We'll get to those really quick. I want to go through these very, very quickly, though. One thing that comes up again as we look through this is the number of data sources that are needed. So we were curious as we looked at this, for people, and we hear a lot of different stories from a lot of different people. How many data sources do each one of you guys use on a normal basis within just your, not throughout the whole organization, but just your job within your organization? And I have a feeling this is going to be all over the place, but less than 5, 6 to 15 are way too many to count. You're fine. We can go ahead and end that. That's probably plenty of time for everybody to have answered. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, it is. It seems like we always hear I have way too many data sources, but yeah, good. So, less than 5 and 6 to 15, and that is, I guess, more common from just an individual row. So, so definitely glad to see that. One of the last question again. So do you and your business users, and this is something, again, we feel like we hear from a lot of people, do you feel like you have access to the data that you need within your organization? Option A, yes, we have all of it. I've got everything I need. B, yes and no, I do, but we're missing key things. Or C, yes and no. I really don't know what I don't know. So there may be data sets that I'm missing that I probably don't know that I do need. And then, D, no, I know I'm missing things that could help me. Again, pretty simple. So I'll give everybody about 2 more seconds and then we'll wrap this one up. Gifron, you can probably go ahead and end it. All right. Results are coming. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. And again, that's pretty common. Most people have stuff they do. They know that they're missing things, or sometimes they feel like they don't know what they are missing. They know that there's got to be more information out there. Sometimes that's information that is siloed within the organization. Sometimes it's information that, the organization doesn't even know that's available to them. But streaming data is a big thing we keep seeing that that people don't even know that they can tie directly into that to do even more with. All right. So we did have a couple of